Terms. In this module, we are going to learn how to create and work with terms. What are they for? They're used to store specific information in the families, processes, etc. Terms are created in a structure, dictionary, terms, and then used where they are needed. As we mentioned before, we can use terms in a lot of different places throughout the application. Families, accounts. Let's imagine I have created the 3 terms in the dictionary of terms: size, country, and sector. These are specific types of terms with a specific data. Once they have been created in the dictionary of terms, I can use them, for example, in the articles family, accounts family, etc. Once the data structure for the families and processes has been created, users will add all the data. As we mentioned before, they are created in a structure, dictionary, terms. Remember that the dictionary is organized in chapters. Therefore, the first thing we need before creating a term is at least to have one chapter in the dictionary where we can allocate the terms. When we create a term, we need to decide what kind of term we want to create. There are several types: general, keys, prefix, suffix, system, and group of fields. Let's see the characteristics of all of them. So we have general. They are independent terms that are used, among other things, to define the fields of the forms. Keys. They are used as a part of the reference of the classes of processes, process status queries, and business rules. It is a 3-letter term. It is simply a term that is going to allow us to classify processes. And as we said, process status queries and business rules. Prefix, suffix, used in order to obtain information from the families or external sources. For example, ERP. This type of term is very important. The term is used to get information from the families or from an external source. Through the prefix, we can obtain the suffixes. System. They contain information of the element in which they are placed. If they are in a family of records, they will refer to that family. If they are in a class of processes, the system term will contain information of the processes of the class. And group of fields. List of fields is structured by columns and rows. Regardless of the type of term we use, a term can only contain one particular data type. For example, if it is a date term, it can only contain a date. If it's a whole number term, it can only contain a whole number. Regardless of the type of term we use, a term can only contain one particular data type. For example, if it's a date term, it can only contain a date. If it's a whole number term, it can only contain whole numbers. Let's have a look at this form and the terms we use here. As you can see, the status term is a simple selection term. That is to say, I can only choose an option, so I will only be able to choose one of these options. Here, we can also see these 2 terms: employee, suffix, and course duration. That they are one-line text where we can write text. We also have course price. That is a decimal number type of term. Here you can see the most frequently used types of term. During this course, we will learn how to use every type of term. Terms are used in records, libraries, objects, divisions, patterns, reports, etc. Internal term names. Thanks to the multi-language option, the terms' names can be changed either from dictionary of terms or from the place where they are used. Form documents, notification. If it is changed in the dictionary of terms, the modification will be applied wherever the term is being used, unless it has been modified in a specific place where it is being used. If it's modified in a specific place where it's being used, the modification will only apply to that specific place. In addition, to facilitate the correct identification and configuration of terms, they identify with a number that tells us what type they are. So, for example, the system type of data has this as well. The prefix will have a 1 at the front, suffixes a 2, general a 3, groups of fields will have a 6 in front, and the groups of fields footer an 8. System terms. System terms are not created in the dictionary of terms. These terms are created automatically by the system and related to the element where they are included. So depending on the term they are in, they will show different types of terms. For example, when a class of process is created, several system terms are also created with it. So, for example, all these will be created by the system. In each process, these system fields will automatically contain data, regardless of the use in the process. All these system terms will have in each process the data of that process. When a family of records is created, several system terms are also created in the record. So, in this case, we'll have ID, family, class, and name. Like in the case before, in each element, these system fields will automatically contain information, regardless of the use in the family of records. If I go to the application, and I go to structure, terms, if we go to chapters, we can see that terms are organized in chapters. If we span, we just see all the elements. As we can see here, we have two chapters. We have the general and course. From here, I could create a new branch, as I showed you before. This is to see the changes, and this is to expand. To create a new chapter, I'll just have to go into chapter. We will add here a number. Let's add number 3. And chapter name, let's call it demo. Save. And if we go to see the changes, okay, we can see here the one we just created. Okay, let's close this. Go back to terms, yeah. And here I can go to create several things. So I can create a general term from here, keys, prefixes and suffixes, group of fields as well. We also have the garbage cleaner. So this is very useful because we can delete all the terms we are not using. So let's create some terms now. So let's create a key first. So we'll choose chapter demo, and create a key. And call it the MO. I could add a description if I wanted to. I'm just gonna leave it now. So save and exit. Okay, so if we were to go to key in the fields and proceed, okay, we can see here the one we just created. Let's create now some general terms. Before that, let's go to My Tasks and let's start process, teacher, and general terms. As you can observe, I have all the different types of data we can have as general terms, yeah? So I have one line text, multiple line text. I'm going to show you how they work in execution, and then later on I will teach you how to create them. So for example, we have one line text. It's pretty simple. We just can add some text there, just obviously one line. Multiple line text, I can add several lines, yeah. Enrich multiple line text, I can add here text, I can add a style as well, I could add a image if I wanted to. So let's add a text, rich. As we said before, we can add styles here. Okay, so we just change it. We could also find or attach an image. This one we used before. Okay, save and exit. We can see it here. Whole number, yeah, 5. Decimal number, the date, again, and the time, date. In library, here it allows me to integrate documents. We have document and direct integration. In this one, let's find document and drag it here. Save and exit, yeah. And if we go here, we can see the one we just added. Then we have family element. It allows me to select an element of a family. In this case, it's an employee family, so we can just choose one employee or two. Okay, let's add this one, for example. Okay. Multimedia integrated image. We can also add an image here. So yeah, let's find one here. This one. As we can see is here. Multimedia YouTube video. Again, we can either copy the code, which is probably the best. So let's copy the code. And as we can see, the video is here. Simple selection. Again, in here we can only choose one, so multiple selection, we could choose several if we wanted to. Okay, yes or no. We can also set it up so there's a default one, so if we wanted always to have yes, unless we change it, then we could set it up as well. And signature, it comes up as Anna Hill because I am Anna Hill. Okay, so he's just the appointed performer. We have seen all the different types of general terms in execution, so let's go now and see how to create them. For that, we will need to go to structure. So let's close this and go to structure. Dictionary of terms. So let's create a general term in demo, and let's call it text demo. Data type, we're going to choose one line text. We need to make sure we choose the right one because then we cannot change it. Once we press continue, that will be it. We won't be able to change anything. So continue. And another problem we have here is like if we have a term that is in the system already with that name, it won't let us choose the same one. So we need to choose another one. So let's put text demo 1. Continue. Yes, you can see now I can do it and can create it. As soon as I press on continue, the system has offered me some additional options, some optional things. So in value we can either choose free or limited. We also have languages. We can also add a description and even add a level of protection. As I mentioned before, the system will offer me additional options and it will be according to the type of term I have chosen. So depending on the type of data, we will have different configuration options. So save and let's create another term. So we can do it from here. Let's create a simple selection one this time. Simple selection. Paste. Continue. And here we can see different configuration options. Now we have the options list and 3. I want to choose this one, okay, and if I go to options, then I can create the options I want. So I'm going to put demo 1, save. I could also change the language if I wanted to, create another one, 2, save, and create another one, 3, save and exit. As we can see here, we have the 3 options we just created. As it's a simple selection option, when we have it in the form, we could only choose one. Save and exit. Save. Now let's create a multi-selection one. Multiple selection. And let's call it multiple demo. Okay, again here I need to choose the different options. So something simple, so save, create another one. Two. Save and create another one. 3. And here we have the 3 options we created. As it is a multiple selection one, we can choose several once the term is in the form. We have several options here as well. We can add a description, language, etc. So save. Let's create another one this time. Let's go for a number one, like a whole number one. And let's call it continue. Here we have other configuration options. We can do it with separator or select without it. We can state how many digits we want. And we can set a maximum value, etc. But we're gonna leave it like this. Save and create another one. Create a decimal one now. And let's change this for decimal. And here we can state the number of decimals we want. Let's add 2. Again, the value can be free or limited. We can also add a description, change the language, and save. If we were to create one, yes, no one. So let's put yes, no. We can see that here the option is default value. So we could choose, as I mentioned before, yes. So when we go into the form, the yes option is selected already. So unless we change it, it will be yes, the default one. Save. And let's create one that is a bit different. So a family element. Let's call it family element demo. Easy and simple. Continue. And as we can see, it has a different configuration. We can even have a family prefilter. We will see that later on. And here we can choose the family. So we're gonna leave it as an employee. And save. Now it's your turn to do part 2.1. Let's move into creating prefixes and suffixes. It is essential to understand how they work properly. What are they for? The objective is to let a user select data in a form, and that depending on the data selected, some related data appear from the source in the destination. So if we have an employee record with the name, address, telephone number, age, I would like that every time I select that employee anywhere in the application, all this data is automatically transferred from the origin form. Here in the example, we can see that there are 2 people named Sarah. But that's not a problem, as the ID is what really identifies the term in the system. Here there is a student's family, and let's imagine I create a prefix from the family and some suffixes. I will add the prefix to the form, and the suffixes will be autofilled by the system. That is to say that when we select an element in a prefix, the data is copied from the source to the destination. From this moment, all this data is copied. We have it in the family and also in the destination form. From this moment, the elements are duplicated. They are in two tables. The source table from where the elements were copied and the destination table. The destination table can be a family of record, a counter record, or a panel of class of processes. In this example, the prefix will be filled out manually in a form, but it could also be filled out through automatisms. Prefixes and suffixes, how they work. The ID is the unique identifying value that allows us to identify an element within a family. The name is used so the user can identify the element and also use the other data within the family. Once the families have been created, I will need to create some terms to obtain data from them. On one hand, we have the family element, which is a general term that only allows us to choose the name of the element. However, if we choose prefixes and suffixes, we will not only be able to bring the name of the element, but also the elements related to it. In this example, we have the student family and the course one. If we want to bring data from the student, we will have to create a prefix term. To do so, we have to create it beforehand in the dictionary of terms. When we create the prefix, we will need to indicate where the terms are, indicate where the data is extracted from. In this example, we are creating a student family prefix, and we also need to create some suffixes. If in the student family I have telephone number and age as suffixes, we will be able to use them as terms in the forms. If in the course family I have duration and level as suffixes, as we can see here, duration and level, I will be able to add them as suffixes in the form. Once I have created the prefix and choose the suffixes we can add them to the form. The term will show us all the options. Once we select one, the suffixes information will appear. In this example, for example, if I choose a student, in the case I choose Maria, then both suffixes will be filled by the system. To sum up, we have families, and to obtain information from those families, we need to create terms in the dictionary, prefix and suffix type of data. These terms will be added to a form, and then we will obtain the suffix values through the prefix. How to synchronize data. Now the data has been copied and synchronized, any changes in the source or in the destination can be synchronized in one direction or the other. That is to say that if Maria turns 42 and the data is modified in the form, it could be updated in the student's record or the other way around. Let's see what happens if we make some changes in the origin or destination. If the telephone and age field are editable in the form, we can change them. Or if we have permissions, we can change data in the family. How can the data we modify in the origin be synchronized in the destination or the other way around? When we configure the form, we can select the Update Suffixes from Panel to Record, which is here, option on saving the form. This way, if we change the telephone number here, the info will be updated in the origin record when saving the form. If what we want is that the modification in the data origin to reflect in the form, we will have to choose this option in the form configuration, the form properties. If we go back to my tasks and teacher process, prefixes and suffixes, if I choose here an account, like for example, supermarket, we can see how this gets filled out. That's because this is a prefix and this is a suffix. If we go to settings, and we go to prefixes and suffixes, yeah, we choose the division. Here we can see all the terms that are being used in this form. We can see the names of the prefixes, yeah, as you can see, and suffixes. As we can see in the prefix, yeah, we have postal codes, that's the prefix, and the suffixes that we can see here, they all have postal codes in the front, yeah, so it's easy to really see that this is a suffix, and we can see the prefix. We have already created an employee prefix and an account one, so let's go to structure. Let's go back to structure, save and exit, and let's create a family of records prefix. So structure, dictionary of terms, demo, chapter, family element, and let's choose postal codes. Okay, and the family name, we can call it postal code demo. Continue. Okay, and let's add in record fields. Let's add state, country, and city and suffixes. Okay, so the suffixes are now here. If I go back, save and exit, if I go back to execution, yeah, I can see postal codes, and if I were to choose a postal code, let's see this one, for example, we can see, okay, that the suffixes get filled up. Now, you can try part 2.2. Finally, we're going to learn how to create and use a group of fields. So we go to structure, dictionary of terms, terms, general, and then we go to create group of fields. First, I have to choose the chapter, a name, and create the terms that will be part of the group of fields. They can be general, they can be prefixes and suffixes, or even other groups of fields. These groups of fields within a group of fields are called affiliated groups of fields. Once we have created all these terms in a group of fields, this set will constitute a term, a group of fields. A group of fields is not a group of terms added from the dictionary, but a term I defined. I define the general terms, the suffixes and prefixes, and the group of fields that it's going to have. We can also create column footers. If I have a numerical term, I can create column footers like sum, mean, last register. Depending on the type of data, we will have some different column footers available. So if it's a text, I cannot count records. I can count records, sorry. See the value of the last record, but I cannot add a mean or a sum, obviously. These are called columns, and they can be general terms, prefixes and suffixes, and groups of fields. The data is entered record by record. This is an example of a form, okay, here, and we can choose the columns we want to appear here. Here we have a one-line text, yeah, and a datem start, another datem, and a numerical one, that will be the discount one. Let's return to execution. Teacher, and then group of fields to see how our group of fields behave. To add data to this group of fields, yeah, I just have to click on edit and then in this icon, and then we just can add, I don't know, some text, a date, okay. And then if we want to add something to the affiliated group of fields, then we will click on the magnifying icon, go here, and again add the data we want to, so 25 for example. Save and exit, as you can see is here all the data we just added. Again, if we wanted to check the information in the group of fields, we will go here, yeah, and if we wanted to check what is in the affiliated group of fields, we will just click on here. Let's create a group of fields now. So let's go to the structure, dictionaries, terms, and now create a group of fields. Demo chapter, and let's add a name, for example, group of fields, demo 2. And save. As we can see here, we have 2 terms already that the system has added, the system terms 1. We can add some general terms, prefixes and suffixes, and again a group of fields within the group of fields. I'm going to create a general one, for example, a one-line text, and I'm going to call it, well, so we can identify it easily. Continue. And save. Let's create another one. This time is going to be a date one. So let's call it date 2. Continue. And save. Create another one. This time a simple selection one. And we call it selection 2. Continue. Again, we have here options that we have to add. So we're going to add something like, I don't know, GF1. Save. Create another one. GF2. Save. Create another one. And GF. Save. Save and exit. And we can see all the options we just created. Save. And now save and exit, because I don't want to add another general term, but a prefix. So we're going to call it prefix 2. It's going to be a family element. And it's going to be products family element. Continue. And as we can see, we can add here the suffixes. So we go to record fields, and I'm going to choose price. and available. Save. Save and exit. As you can see, we have already here general terms, prefixes and suffixes. Let's add now a group of fields. So this is going to be a group of fields inside another one. We're going to call it affiliated. Save. Again, we have those two system terms, and let's add a general, let's add two general terms, for example. So wineland text, call it continue, save, and let's create another one. In this case, let's create a yes, no one. And let's call it something simple like this. Okay. And continue. I don't know why it's not creating it now. Let's try to do it again. Okay, this is already a term. Okay, so we need to change the name. So let's go to 3. Okay. And save. Save and exit. Save and exit. And if we go to the main group of fields that we are here now, we can create column footer. So let's create one. Footer name, we're going to put, we need to find the right column, right, and choose the right operation. In this case, we want main. So save and exit. And as you can see, the column footer has been created. So we just learned how to create groups of fields. We just created some general ones, prefixes and suffixes. We created an affiliated group of fields and a column footer. So now let's save. It's your turn to do part 2.3. As we will see later, we must follow 3 steps to create a form. Once created, the terms can be used for different purposes in the application. Rules, conditions, calculations. The steps are the following. First, we need to create the terms in the dictionary of terms. Then bring the terms where they are going to be used, contact record, family record, or process panel. And finally, we can place them in the form so the process panel will have all the terms used in the class of processes, regardless of being used in a task form, IM form, etc. Remember, we can have several forms and use different terms in them. We always need to follow these 3 steps. Forms are used to show, store, view, edit, and create information. Terms that are placed into a form are called fields. Terms do not contain data, but fields may contain information. We call terms the structure we create from the dictionary of terms. Once those terms are in a form and we are in execution added data, we call them fields. There is the design, that there is no data here. We create the terms, bring them where they are going to be used, and place them in a form. The form is ready to be used, but there is no data. We generate the data in execution. When we create elements of the family, we can enter data in the fields and save the information. The data saved in each record of the family is called register. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to follow through these 3 steps. How a term gets from the dictionary to a form. For that, I need to go to structure. Let's go, for example, to family of records. Products, forms. Okay, and if we select the division, we can see all the fields that are being used. Okay, so let's imagine I want to add some fields to the form. I can either do it from here, so I could go here and choose the right one, type of data, or just go to all, or I could do it from, let's go back here, fields in record. Okay, here I can see all the terms that I can use in any of the forms of the family, and we can also add some more. As we can see, we weren't using all these terms in the form we just saw. I'm going to add a field from here, so add fields to the record. From here I access the dictionary, okay, and bring the terms I need. So for example, I could go for and try to find expire date. So let's see, yeah, and as we have one already created, we just have to select it and accept selection, and then it should be here. Now we can see I have it in the record, so let's add another one. For example, bar code, proceed, and I can see that barcode is already here. Okay, so it's already there, so we don't need to add anything else. Right, if I go back to the form, select the right division, as we said before, we could go here to add elements, and then if we click in all, we can see them all, the ones that we have already here. Okay, and if we wanted to add new ones, we will do it from here. As you can see, we have here the one we just added. Okay, so we will learn how to configure them once we have learned a bit more. So here, if we accept selection, we can see that it comes here. Okay, so we just leave it in the form. We will learn how to configure this later on. And let's add the other one, barcode. Yeah, that was already in the panel, but not in the form. Okay, if I want to add some more terms to the form, I can bring the terms that already exist, as I have done 1 second ago. Yeah, I could bring them from here, or I could bring them from here if they already exist, or just create new ones. Let's create a new term now. So let's create a general one, a just know one. So create general demo chapter, and let's call it active. And as I said, it's going to be a yes, no. Continue and save. Save and exit. Now I need to find active here. Select it and then accept selection. Once it's in here, okay, we can place it in the form. Let's create a prefix now. All, add fields to the record, create prefixes, demo, and let's create one of the family employees. Yeah, let's call it manager, for example. And let's add a suffix. Let's add absent and save and exit. And save and exit. Okay, if I wanted to find it here, then I will have to go to here and it should be there. If we want to make it quicker, we can also choose like filter through chapter, and as you can see, it's a lot easier sometimes. So accept, and we would have it here in our form. Okay, so let's go back to structure. Let's see this in a process. So if we go to structure, process, and product request, and the diagram, IAM form, dynamic form. Okay, we can see the form we already configured before. And if I want to add something here, I just select the right division. Again, we go to add elements, all. We just need to follow the same steps we have been doing in the last 2 minutes. So for example, I'm gonna add delivery date. Let's see if it's here already. No. So add fields, maybe it's already created. So let's go and see. Delivery date. Yeah. So accept, and it's here. We can drag it here, for example, and let's create a new one. So general one, demo. Let's create a date one, date type of data, call it production date, continue, save and exit. And now we just need to bring it to the panel so we can use it in the form as we did before. So here we go, pro and proceed, production date, that is the one we just created, accept selection, accept again, and here it is. As you can see, we follow the same steps to create terms in a process and in a family of records. Right. Save and exit. And save and exit. Okay. Now we will see how we can relate terms. These terms are not created in the dictionary, but from a structure relation. Here is where we create, okay, the map of relations. When we created the map, we could see the relation capitals countries, continents countries, and countries languages. Now we have to create the terms that are going to be related among them. They're going to relate one family with the other. For that, as I said, you have to go to structure and relations. So here I'm going to create a relation. Okay, so we are going to go and do it in a structure so you can see it in an easier way. So we're going to go to structure, relations, find the demo one we started to create before, and now we're just going to finish it. Now we just learn how to do it. So, okay, let's go To this one, for example, we have countries and capitals, okay? So it is lodged in the record of the family in the relation. So I'm gonna create a term here. That's the one that's gonna relate countries to this capitals family, and then I'll create a term here that is the one that's gonna relate capitals with countries. So let's create this. Well, let's put a name first. So countries, capitals, something easy to recognize. And let's create the relation terms. Them again. So let's add R. So I'm gonna put an R at the front. Okay, so I know it's a relation. Continue. And save and exit. Okay. And the same here. Demo. And R capital. Save and exit. And this one is already created. So let's go to countries and languages now. And let's call it countries and languages. And the terms again. As we already have one that is our country, now I'm gonna call it our country 1. Okay, save and exit. And then the other one is gonna be our language. Demo. Continue. Save and exit. As we can see, the relation is already created. And let's go to the last one. Continents, countries. That's gonna be the name as well. Easy and simple. And the terms, as we don't have any in here just yet. With the continent family, we just can put our continent. Save and exit. And in here, as we already have our country and our country 1, we'll just add our country 2. And save and exit. We have created a relation between several families. With this, we have learned about all the types of terms. Okay, so now it's your turn to do part 2.4.